Welcome to the last Saturday hurrah of Periscope. So sad. But not really. This has actually been the last few months of, I guess 6 months ago is when I discovered the app, the Periscope app. And it's been very interesting. It's been a very interesting time, discovering this whole community. And now that it's kind of folding into Twitter, everybody's fleeing the ship, going in their different directions, figuring out which platform works for them, and or just kind of, folding their hand all together. And so I thought I would just dedicate this particular last Saturday midnight episode. For me, this is actually kind of the last of a long season of a series of doing these midnight chats on Saturday nights, and sometimes music, sometimes just accidental comedy, sometimes, well, a whole range of things really. And it just so happens to coincide with the last Saturday of the Periscope Hurrah and the spring full moon, which is almost full tonight, but will be in its full glory tomorrow. And so it's the first spring full moon and the last Saturday Periscope Hurrah. Welcome to my strange world. And so I thought I would just let this be an actual just chatting for however long I can hold out. I got my first shot of the 2-series COVID vaccine on Thursday. Managed to snag a canceled appointment, which is pretty encouraging. Got a fighting chance now. Here's to fighting chances. And my second dose will be in a few weeks, and that's pretty exciting. That's it's transformative. I mean, for obvious reasons, but we've all been surviving a pandemic, and that is not a small thing to be doing as an individual and as a society. And I have these moments where I'm just this is an historic moment in history where we're trying to contemplate and grapple with our lives and what we're doing in this world and how we're getting by and what's going on in our families and with our friends in a context of these drastic world events. And there's a certain set of emotions and consciousness that comes along with that doesn't, you don't really notice it because it's just so broad. They're these just big broad themes unfolding in the background. But every now and again you'll have a moment of just recognizing just how vast it actually is. And it's a very sobering moment of recognizing your place in this world and its history sequence of events. And the fact that you have your own accounting of it, right? However you've documented your life in whatever ways, whether it's over social media or writing or art or through conversations with other people, you've got your own account of how you've survived this time. And so this is essentially become my accounting of how I've survived this time in this last year of discovering that I could live stream on Facebook. This is how it all started, actually. It was sometime about a year ago now when I discovered that Facebook had installed this live feature on their platform. And I thought, well, what happens when I press it? Does it just automatically go live? Am I suddenly going to be able to talk to all of my friends and family and connections from my couch? Well, let's find out. And I did, and there was zero preparation. I just went live for like 22 seconds with the very messy hair and just the camera on my laptop, which is like an old UHF channel. and after that, I was like, I was hooked. That was, it's just like such a nice feeling to tune in and to connect out into the world and to just kind of throw it to chance, like who you might connect with and who you might actually communicate with. Because you don't know. You also learn a whole lot if you want to actually succeed in broadcasting from your own home studio or whatever it is that you have that you're trying to broadcast from. Like, it's not actually an easy thing to do necessarily. It can be, depending on what kind of a device you have. It can actually be pretty easy. It can be so easy, in fact, that you have no idea how hard it actually is to do it successfully. And so there's a whole range of, experiences that come along with trying to do this that people, figure out along the way, depending on what kind of tools and resources they have on hand. And it's been quite a journey for me to figure all those things out, the different pieces. And, now when I tune in to go live, I've got kind of like my routine of what I do, and I've got a new microphone that my son bought for me, and I've got a new camera that I use that actually stays in focus because it's a fixed focus lens, and the one I was using before was it would autofocus, but it would autofocus like in a very bad way. It just wouldn't really do its job. And so I've got lots of live streams that are just like half the time out of focus, which is actually kind of an interesting aesthetic effect too. So yeah, I've learned to work with the limitations and the shortcomings, which is what artists do. And so it's been this fantastic learning curve and journey to figure all this out, and to figure out that this is essentially like the bare bones of operations of how television works, and like how you come up with like programs, and thinking about how you want to set your programming and production, and coming up with ideas for shows. And so I came up with this, I came up with a few different ideas at the beginning, and like a little less than a year ago now. And one of them was midnight live stream talk show music, kind of accidental comedy, because I don't really plan to be funny. It just happens sometimes. And just one day I just thought of the phrase, "When the mood strikes midnight." I'm like, that's the title. And so I just went with it. I ran with it, and I've been doing a whole series of episodes now since I think May of last year, which makes for a very long season. And this will be somewhere in the upper 30s of episodes that I've actually included in a collection, and we'll now kind of go through and see, what worked, what didn't work, what do I, erase from the record forever because that was really bad, and what do I keep and kind of patch into a montage because it worked really well, and it was good, and it was better than I thought it was at the time. And that's part of what, I'll be doing over the summer months. The other part of what I'll be doing over the summer months is going out into the field and the rivers and near the lake shores and the streams and the wetlands, and just doing live streams from the field and talking about the ecological significance of the natural world where I live in the lake basin of Lake Erie. And that will become its own, set of programs I can see already. And as I've moved to using this new platform called HAPS, which is genuinely designed for journalists, really at the heart of it. And it's open to, pretty much anyone who, commits to their guidelines and standards of like how they've, structured their platform. But, it's really structured for journalists to be able to do their job as well as they can. And it's very friendly to that kind of storytelling and narrative, and being able to go live, and not just go live, but to multicast to different platforms so that you can actually build kind of like a network of channels across the different social media platforms. And that kind of, kind of challenged me to up my operations, because with Periscope, which has been a great deal of fun for me, it's also been pretty low pressure to just like, you can do a scope for 30 seconds, a minute, an hour. People are like, it's very flexible, and it's pretty it's very informal, and there's no real journalistic expectations, although some plenty of people use it for that reason. There's there's even some like major institutions that use Periscope to live cast government proceedings, which has been really cool to discover too. And so for me, Periscope's been pretty informal, just kind of like experimenting with things and coming at a live stream from different angles, more composed, less composed, ad hoc, however the mood strikes. But this new one with HAPS, it's like, oh, like I actually should take my journalistic ambitions a little more, seriously, and just actually start to really cultivate the stories that I've been thinking about now for a long time, and really work on them, and really work on my narratives and storytelling, and pulling together a complete, cohesive story that includes all the different facets and viewpoints, over a period of time. And the challenge with that is that I've got such a broad spectrum of pieces that I need to pull together. And so it's now I feel not only compelled to do this, but encouraged and supported even, in fact, because the platform is designed for that kind of thing. And it's like, oh, okay, well, great. Actually, I can now finally like move forward on these goals that I set for myself like years ago, actually. And this is the year to just let those things evolve in a more complete way. And it's interesting because I've kind of worked on these different pieces of the puzzle now for the last few years, whether it's photography or video or live stream, audio, even actually learning how to cut my hair in such a way that I actually like how it appears on the screen. That took a minute. And I feel really good about this last hurrah. It's, it's a bittersweet, like last Saturday Periscope hurrah, but it's also the perfect nudge that I needed to move forward on a lot of different goals. And it just so happened, just because one of the other nature and travel scopers, a heritage scoper as he calls himself, who just kind of walks about Great Britain and goes on canal walks and scopes out these different heritage sites and shares what he sees, and he just happened to have included his a link to his HAPS platform, and I thought, oh, what's this? And I checked it out and I was like, oh, actually this looks pretty cool. I will check it out too. And so I am on haps.tv, HAPPS.tv, and it's / Dawn Nelson, actually. Very, very infrequently I'm actually able to get my name as a handle with no other, modification, just straight up at Dawn Nelson on Haps.tv, and so I just decided to forego the Dawn.earth in this case, because it's just not very often that I can just use my own name, cut and simple, as a handle. And so at Dawn Nelson on Haps.tv is where you'll find me probably quite often over the next 6 months or so, doing outdoor kinds of scopes and adventures in the natural world. So it's time for me to kind of carve out a new set of programs, a new program. And so one of the things is, at least, kind of like the first interim step is to just do a Tuesday news from the studio, kind of what's going on, what am I working on, and sharing that with you and whomever my viewers may be at this point, and kind of using that as just the interim stepping stone. I'll probably continue to do a Tuesday news episode, maybe not every Tuesday, but frequently on Tuesdays I'll have kind of these short segments of updates. And then in the fall I will have upped my game once again on the Saturday midnight shows with a whole new set and a whole new program, really, and perhaps even a whole new studio. We'll see. And that's exciting to think about and to work towards, and to take the lessons learned from this last year of all these things that I've endeavored to do with this and build on it, make it better, build on the foundation of what I've created thus far, and continue to do so. So, with that, sorry, globe, Dawn.earth, where shall I go next? Well, once we can actually travel, once I can actually travel, which is probably not anytime soon, really. Even just going across the border to Canada is will be a big deal. And so I'm curious to hear other Periscopers, if anybody's even still on the platform. It's only a few days before they completely fold into the Twitter Live realm of things, whatever that actually looks like. And so if you have any thoughts or reflections on what you'd like to share about your experience as part of this Periscope community, feel free to share those thoughts in the chat, and maybe and if you're so inclined, where have you decided to go next? What's the platform that works for you? A lot of folks have decided to kind of dabble a bit with different platforms to see what it is that works for them, because everybody's got a different need for why they're even going live. Hey, how's it going? Just doing this kind of a first spring full moon and a last Periscope hurrah. Oh, I still actually don't know how to do that. Oh man. Sorry. I'm working in the OBS studio, and I actually don't know how to patch you in from here. But wonder if I can. Yeah, there's certain things I have not learned how to do that a lot of other folks have become pretty easily, they do it pretty easily. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, I have not actually. That will be one of the things that I figure out how to do in the fall, probably, when I come back for a season 2 of my Saturday midnight show. But I was just reflecting on how everybody's kind of figuring out where to go, from Periscope. Where do we go from here? And so I've been exploring haps.tv, which actually that one's really easy to figure out how to patch people in. And they have, like, their platform is more like actually Restream, where it's a multicast kind of platform rather than just like single cast, which is what Periscope is. Yeah, so yeah, sorry I have not figured that out yet. But if you can, so where I'll probably be broadcasting from over the next few months, over the summer months, especially the warm months, will be Twitter Live, if I can get it to function well enough, and then the haps.tv app, which seems to function pretty well, and I'll probably multicast from there and just see how that works out across Twitter Live, and I'll probably still use some of my Twitch platform over the summer months as well. So I'll be working on cultivating kind of like more of a nimble, in the field, fleet-footed type of approach to my live streaming now that it's warmer and I can spend more time outside, and in the very near future be fully inoculated, well, as far as I can tell, fully inoculated against the COVID-19 coronavirus, which seems like something of a miracle at this point. Yeah, well, I really, and I really appreciate you tuning in so much over these last few months, and so I've like kind of went through all of my weirdness of trying to figure out like what are comfortable kinds of like environments or scenes or sets for me to broadcast from, and yeah, I've definitely pushed the envelope on my comfort levels of doing this kind of thing. And some of the stuff that I've like recorded and kept hold of some of the footage. I think I'll go through and parse out what to keep and what not to keep. And after a certain point, video footage in general is very takes up a lot of space. So I don't even know how all these different platforms manage to host so much video. I mean, they must have like so many servers and so many places with so much storage. But at some point you have to kind of take stock of what's good and what isn't, and clean house so that you've got room for the good stuff and it's not cluttered up to with a bunch of stuff that you don't even really need. You do photography. Well, there's actually, it depends on like what kind of photography that you're interested in, of course. Like, what is the subjects that you're interested in? I'm like a natural landscape, streetscape photographer. So like when I go out, it's either like street photography, or it's natural landscape photography. And lately it's actually been industrial landscape photography, which is really satisfying to me. There doesn't seem to be a lot of audience for that kind of imagery, which is all the more reason why I actually kind of like that subject. But so yeah, so I would say, there's really, in Southeast Michigan, there's actually a lot of natural beauty to be found and shared. Like, that's really what I try to do, is find the spaces where I would go anyway to just kind of walk and be at peace in nature, and then I share, find something about that to share. Usually it's water, usually it's a river, because there's just so many. But as far as cities, I've kind of exhausted the street photography in Ann Arbor, which there's a lot of interesting things in Ann Arbor for sure, but it's actually it's a lot smaller. Like there's just like there's a limit to how many photographs you can take of the city of Ann Arbor before you're just like, oh God, I've already done this like so many times. But there's a lot of photogenic scenes, street scenes, of course. So Ann Arbor's nice. IFC is actually pretty awesome for street photography. They've got some pretty cool intersections. Michigan Avenue corridor has got some cool stuff. And then there's other parts, Depot Town, and then there's the park, Riverside Park. The river, oh man, actually. Yeah, Ann Arbor, around Ann Arbor is definitely like ridiculous amounts of farmland. So if you're into that kind of thing, there's actually lots of it to be had. There's a lot of like really cool, nice barns that have been there for a long time, kind of like heritage farms. So in that regard, there's a lot of cool stuff. But I tend, like sometimes I'll do that kind of photography, but usually not. Like I do have some stuff from farms, like farm landscape, which has got that nice quintessential, like nice feel to it. But usually when I do that, it's because there's like a storm in the sky, or there's like some other like weather going on. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So you're familiar with the landscape. So I'm from Southeast Michigan, so like I can get into like really fine detail in certain areas. And actually, I was looking through. I just happened to go to Monroe the other day, and I wasn't expecting to, and I stumbled upon the road to the DTE energy plant, the coal plant, not Fermi, and just by accident, like I was like talking to my son on the car phone, and I like was just like taking turns, and like suddenly like turned to on the street for the port of Monroe, and I was just like, oh, I wonder. I'm like, I wonder where this goes. I'm like, oh wait, those smokestacks are very familiar. I'm like, this is the road to the smokestacks. I can get some up close photos. And so I got, I went like pretty close up to what was, probably pretty close to the border between like the actual like public road versus the public utility, like, private, DTE energy plant, like private land. And so I stopped and got out and took some pictures and got some cool, like really up close of the smokestacks. And then this other like little like natural preservation site, because actually around both of DTE's power plants there in the Monroe area, there's a lot of national wildlife refuge, which is just like tons of wetlands and natural land, which is just beautiful. And so it had this really cool juxtaposition of this like little like nature preserve thing that they were trying to do like right in front of the smokestacks, which I appreciate them doing actually quite a bit, but it's just a great juxtaposition for a photograph. And so I got out of my car and I was taking a few photographs, and I just kept like waiting for somebody to be like, hey, what are you doing? so I didn't stay long, but I got some cool ones. And and then I left. And since I've been kind of dealing with this cough now for months, I also am just like a little bit sheepish about going into areas that have a little more heavy industry, because then it's just like, well, that's just kind of make things worse for me. So I actually just ordered a mask that's actually recommended for folks who live in more industrialized areas, because it helps to screen out like the particulate matter and other things. So I just ordered that today, and that will come in the mail probably in the next couple of weeks. So I will be wearing that actually for doing industrial landscape photography. And so I guess I would say Monroe actually is a pretty cool city to do some street photography. They've got really nice river scenes, and And Luna Pier is very tiny, but they've got some really cool, like, they've got some beachfront that you can get to very easily, and they've got a nice pier that you can walk out on. And I've got a very quaint lighthouse that's just like super cute. So, so that works for me as far as like, I almost always am drawn to doing some kind of water photography, like riverscape or seascape. Monroe's pretty cool, I think, as far as kind of quaint downtown and, river town type vibe. They've got a lot of cool riverside parks and like long lengths where you can walk like a long time alongside the river, which is really nice, like impressively well done as far as like having public access to, waterside. And then and Detroit, of course, always offers some really cool scenes. I think the struggle with like some of the city photography, like street scenes in some of the more well-known cities is like everybody's, like it's all been done. Like there's so many photographers have, like documented so many different angles. Like it's hard to find stuff that people haven't already done. I mean, for your own collection, it's worth to take, to find all the stuff that you like and document it for your own collection. But if you're looking for things that are unique, like getting the unique perspectives, it can be challenging because there's so much that's already been done. So, yeah. But as far as Detroit goes, because it's so vast and it covers so much land, like it's really quite big as far as like ground cover goes, is to find a neighborhood and a part of the city that deserves some love and attention and really, like find something beautiful, because there's so much to find that's beautiful and it just kind of like off the beaten path. And I'm particularly drawn to bridges and graffiti that's well done. Or not even necessarily well done, but just like a place where like the graffiti, like so many people have come to do graffiti in a certain place that it like just by chance it all kind of gels together very nicely in like an aesthetic balance, just because, and to capture some of that before it's gone forever, because it'll change. I have in the past. I haven't in a long time, actually. It's probably been a couple of years, actually, since I've been in, like, actually went into the city and stopped and did something. Like, I think I've probably driven through or driven, like, near city boundaries. I don't think I've really stopped in the city of Detroit in a while. But the Riverwalk there, too, especially, is really nice. And the Detroit, that's what I love about the Detroit River. It's international waters. Like the feel, like the sense that you get when you walk along international waters is just so amazing. It's such an amazing feeling. And one thing I noticed is that it feels very much like walking along the East River in New York City. And New York is actually probably, right now, is one of my favorite cities to do street photography, and I've got a pretty good collection from the last few summers. And actually I've got like so much of a collection of New York City street photography that I haven't even looked at everything that I've actually captured still. I think I have 4 or 5 summers worth of street photos that I've gone through, like probably a quarter of what I have. So yeah, Southeast. I'm Southeast Michigan. So far, yep. And so my favorite county, though, I think is Monroe County. It's yeah, if you can see some of it if you actually go to my website at dawn.earth, which is actually an actual website. It's not just a phrase I use. I do have some stuff, not a lot. It's actually pretty limited what I have, because I get really overwhelmed with working with digital media and photographs and just moving them around online. So it's pretty limited, but I do have a decent collection of things that I've worked on over the last few years at www.dawn.earth, which is really just basically like a portfolio of photography work that I've done, and using a lot of the different Adobe products or software products to make things happen. So I've been doing photography. I started to do more seriously in I guess 5 years ago now. In 2016 is when I got my Nikon and started to like be more specific and deliberate in my effort to go out and shoot and to actually like work on not just framing the shot, but also like figuring out what is it that I want to shoot and getting myself there at the right time to get, to capture what I want. And that's been an interesting process of discovery of like what makes me happy. And I think like going out to shoot is probably one of the few things in this life and world that just makes me blissfully happy, like just bliss, like easily, like I don't have to try really, it's just like very easy. And video, like I've been trying to do more video too the last few years, and live stream has been a part of that. So I actually enjoy editing video, I think, a little more so than I enjoy editing photos. But I guess it just depends really on my mood and how much patience I have for looking at a computer screen to do that work. So, I mean, even now I've got like another 500 photographs from the last few months that I just transferred over to my computer today, or yesterday maybe, and I've looked at like 20 of them maybe. So it's kind of another piece of the process is to, actually like look at the work that you've done and collected and documented and start to go through it and see what's good, what you like, what you don't like, and keep a clean file process so that you know where your good stuff is and it's easy to retrieve and it's easy to share. And that's like a whole nother dimension of doing this kind of visual artwork, that you have to build patience into the process to be successful with it. And I am at like ebbs and flows for me. But it's also good to know that I've got like a whole collection of stuff. Like even though I haven't gone through a bunch of different things, like I know it's there, and I know that I could easily spend, an entire week and really probably an entire month just going through the whole cache of things I've collected and actually doing the editing work and polishing everything up and then moving all that over to a collection that's more easily shared. But that's, a whole nother mountain to climb of how do you share your visual artwork without somebody just, stealing it. So I guess that's probably why I've kind of like been a little bit more like lazy about that part of the process. I'm like, well, until I figure out how to really like copyright stamp all my stuff, I'm really I don't mind taking my time with the sharing part. And then one day when there's actual gallery openings again, I hope to actually have a whole, not just a whole exhibit, but like several, like exhibits worth of work that I can, have a collection of things that I can, show in a gallery, and not even just the one, the one time, like having like a series of exhibits of different, things that I've worked on, and actually have, like a gallery show, which just feels like a million miles away. What a weird world we live in. Yeah, I've had I've had some success with that. Sometimes I can get it to put like a copyright stamp on one of the corners of the photographs, and then sometimes it just won't do it. I don't know why, but so some of my stuff I do have, copyright stamp on some of it. And then other stuff I like just kind of gave up on trying because I just get just tired of just tired of doing the screen work. But I think there's like another way that you can copyright stamp things that's like even more in the metadata, and I haven't figured that out yet. And that's kind of like the next level that I want to figure out of like how can you like program your software, that whatever like editing software that you're working with, that it just automatically embeds your copyright in the metadata. So like even if people like somehow like clipped out that piece that you put in the actual photo where you can see it, like it's still embedded in the metadata that they can't that they can't they can't get it out of that file. Like it's basically like imprinted into the file. Is the it's Yeah, it's the way I know. It's the way the export, like sometimes I'll like export the photo with like, and it's supposed to have the signature or whatever it's called, the signature on the left whatever corner you just decide, and sometimes it'll do it, and then sometimes it just won't do it, and I don't know why. Like I don't know if it's just my software is glitchy, my computer is glitchy, like something I'm doing is just glitchy, or what. So I like when that starts to happen, I just set it aside and go out and take more photos. I'm on Instagram too. I'm on Instagram. I'm at dawn.earth. So like not the word spelled out dot, but dawn actual dot earth, like a website at dawn.earth. So if you find me on there, I will follow you back. And I would love to see what you're working on. I love artwork. Like I love art, and I love the process of like creating art, like the whole like what goes into like why people want to create art. And it's interesting because so many folks want to just like there's so many beauty shots. Like everybody's doing like beauty shots, like because it feels good, and it's easy. Like of course it's easy because like everybody wants to look at what's aesthetically beautiful. But like the art that actually starts to tell a different kind of story is a little bit harder to do with photography. So that's where it's like it becomes like a more intricate kind of approach to how you capture a photo. Like what are you what is your aim, your objective, like for the subject? Like what are you hoping it might be? I have a lot of what I love about street photography is like you don't even necessarily know what the subject is going to end up being. Like you think you know when you take the picture, and then later you go back and look at it and you're like, oh, like I had no idea I photographed that person in that like lower third of the photo, but that person is actually the subject of this photo, and it looks awesome. And there's actually, I have one very specific one that I took that happened, that I found in my collection, and I don't think I've done anything with it. I think I found it and I probably like favorited it so I can find it later. And I think it's still just kind of like sitting somewhere in the archives, and I'll have to like remember, well, what month was that I took that photo? What year? Like I know it was New York City. I'm pretty sure that it was in Times Square or somewhere very close to Times Square. So like that narrows it down for me. And it was probably a few years ago. It could have been one of my winter visits, which is only a handful. So that also narrows it down. Oh, well, thank you. Please feel free to share whatever you think are inspiring. Don't be hiding that work. I know, right? Like that's what I feel like. I'm like I just get so like exhausted with the process of like moving it from, you know, camera to computer or to hard drive or wherever it's going to be stored, and then like, you know, importing that into the software to edit, and then, you know, finishing the edits and getting the copyright stamped on it, and then, you know, uploading it to my website or wherever else I'm going to share it. And I just get so exhausted with that whole line of work that I don't do it for some of the stuff I really need to do it for, even just for my own like sake, like just my own happiness to see that photograph more than just a couple of times. But that's one. That's the one. And I'm gonna make a promise to myself and to you, so you can hold me accountable. That one photograph where it's a woman, and I think in Times Square from like 2 or 3 years ago, that I just love that photograph. And I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna dig it out, and I'm gonna finish that one. That's the one I'm gonna finish, and I'm gonna do that soon. Within the next week, maybe. Within the next month, I think I can make that happen. So, yeah, I will probably go live a few more times on Periscope. I am so sad that what is, I mean, I know it's being folded into Twitter Live, and it's really just transforming, and it's not really ending per se, but I mean, I don't know. What I've discovered so far with Twitter Live, at least in the limited capacity that I've used it now on my fairly outdated Android phone, is that I'm just not impressed with it. So I don't know that I'm going to use it that much. So it really does feel like I think what happened is like different like company owners were just bickering, and somebody was just like, well, fine, I'm just going to buy out Periscope, and I'm going to like stamp out your brand. Just because, you know, people are stupid. Because Periscope's actually a fantastic brand. It's got a great icon it's just got great branding, and it's been a really good platform. Like, so many people love it. Like, there's so many people that are just like, oh, Periscope, oh, and it's like, what other community? I mean, I'm sure that there are other, like, you know, social media communities that get sad when like a platform kind of folds, or, you know, or ends or whatever, but Periscope, I feel like there's like a really special like kinship that's kind of been fostered here. And even in just the short time that I've been using this app, it definitely feels like it's been an experience. And so it's so it's sad. I kind of want to like call up the people that bought Periscope, which would be, I guess, Jack, Twitter, whoever was in charge of that, and be like, what, like, please don't, like, at least like keep the full functioning, and like keep some of this branding, because it's a good product, and it's good, and it's a good platform. So like, it's kind of weird when people end things that are good. Like, what? So yeah, but I'll probably use it. I'll probably use it all the way up to like the last minute that I can, because I thought it's just been like one of the best discoveries really for me in the last year. Yeah, I will figure out how to do that, and I will probably figure out actually what there's actually 31st is the last chance. So I actually have Periscope added to my iPad. So I'm going to go live from my iPad at least once, and probably a few times before the 31st or by the 31st, so I can just have fun with it, and also see the difference in the quality and how it performs, and like, and being able to actually do the thing that everybody else is doing, which is to bring other people into the broadcast and have like actual like live chat sessions. So yeah, so I will be I'll be doing that more in my more like informal approach of like just being out walking by the pond. It's just a little bit awkward to like be walking around with a big, it's an iPad rather than on my phone, and so, but I'll do it anyway. And now that it's a little bit warmer out too, I should be able to do it in a sunny afternoon in the next few days. Maybe just go hang out by the pond and chat for a while, figure out how to do all the cool things that everybody else figured out how to do already, and then try to figure it out again on Twitter Live and everything else. So, oh yeah, I know I will. Well, I don't know if I'll do this kind of broadcast from, well, I might do it on Tuesday though, actually. Tuesday, that's like the thing. I'm not going to do the Saturday night chat midnight things that I've been doing now for however long, but I'm going to do like a Tuesday. Yeah, probably. Well, maybe I should, yeah, all these different options now. That's kind of, Haps.tv got me, like, it started to like confuse me because like I thought I was just kind of like replacing the Periscope app, but actually Hap is like a multicast platform. So like my whole setup now, like I can't just pop out Periscope and pop in Hap.tv. Like I actually have to like choose whether I'm going to use this platform as I have it, or if I'm going to, use the Hap.tv app and then multicast from there. So it's like two different approaches, which I wasn't expecting. So it kind of like just like makes me think differently about how I'm producing live streams, which is good. I just wasn't expecting to be thinking that differently about it. Yeah, well, you know what? If it's nice tomorrow afternoon, I will take a walk by the pond and use the iPad and see how that works out, and then maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll try to do that even like once a day while I can. While Periscope is still Periscope. Well, thank you. I appreciate your appreciation. It's very appreciated. And maybe what I might also try is to do. I might use two screens. So I'm doing like this kind of like this Tuesday news kind of short updates of like how I'm looking at like what I'm doing with the different. Just what I'm doing basically with what I call Dawn.Earth Studio, which is basically just me being an artist and doing whatever I feel like doing. And so Tuesdays are going to kind of be like the day that I just do these like news updates. It's like 5-minute update or 45-minute update. But what I can also do is use the iPad and then also use like this OBS Studio. So maybe that's what I'll do Tuesday. Freak myself out by having two cameras. So, well, thank you for tuning in, and and I will see you from the iPad Periscope app tomorrow or the next day. So I appreciate your attentiveness, and have a wonderful Saturday night and enjoy the full moon. All right, well, so let's see. In the far, far distance, there is a beep, 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 and I've never been able to figure out what that actually is. It's a sound that occurs in the apartment building at least once or twice a week. Maybe not every week, but a few times a month at least. And I've never really quite figured out what it is. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it's very faint in the background. And so with that, I will endeavor to play something. Okay, knock over the world. Try not to knock over the world. don't really know me at all. Through the midst of it all, it's true. And you would only sometimes call. Through the midst of it all, it's true. And I don't even wonder why. And I don't need to say goodbye. I can see the light dancing starboard as I sit here alone. Will you be home? I can see the light dancing starboard as I sit here alone. Will you be home? When will you be home? When will you be home? Da 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 da, da 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 da. Thank you for tuning in these many months, these many Saturday nights. And I will revamp this whole hurrah and bring it back next fall for a season 2 of When the Mood Strikes Midnight. And let's see what I can cook up by then. And so I appreciate folks that have tuned in and witnessed the evolution of all this weird process of mine, and I hope that you've gotten something out of it. I know that I certainly have, and if not, what has essentially been a very serious look in the mirror by way of, there I am on the screen. And I will continue to tune in on Tuesdays until I figure out what my spring programs are going to be. Otherwise, it'll be chance as chance can, catch as catch can, when I go live from the field on whatever platform is the most convenient at the time, depending on which device has the most battery life left. So, happy spring. Happy early full moon. Tonight it is looking there pretty full, but tomorrow night is the full moon, the first full moon of the spring. My cat has come in to say, well, to really just to boss me around, to give her some more food at almost 1 o'clock in the morning. And the last Saturday night hurrah for the Periscope platform and community, and thank you for being part of it, and thank you for creating a unique experience as I've explored what it means to be someone that scopes things out and then sprays my cat with water so she'll stop bothering me. Alright, so until then, Dawn.Earth is truly a place you can go. It's www.dawn.earth. You can see a collection of my mostly my photograph collections, and a few other things, some music as well. And until the next occasion, be well and take care of yourself. Get your vaccine when you can. Do something that's joyful, blissful, and just plain fun. All right. Take care. Cheers. And all that good stuff. We'll see ya.